It's winter here in Melbourne and the pom-pom is back in fashion, which gave me the idea of using pom-poms to represent sounds in words. So for children to be able to get very good at reading and spelling, they have to be able to hear the individual sounds in words. So pom-poms are a good way to represent them because they sort of smoosh together. And you can make bigger ones and smaller ones to show the more salient sounds. So the vowels are quite sort of loud, big sounds in the middle of a syllable, and then the consonants are smaller, softer ones that hang off the end. A child who needs to pull apart a little word, this is a 3-sound word, the average child, when asked to do that, especially if they've been doing things like rhyming and syllable awareness and alliteration at kindergarten and learning about letters, can usually pull them apart pretty easily. Yeah? There's just a little bit of thread there attaching them, and with a bit of instruction about sounds and letters and seeing how, there's that letter, that same letter is in that word and that word, they can start to make the link between the sounds and the letters. So that's very good for most kids. There are other children who it's a little bit harder to get those apart, and they will need some intervention sessions just to show them exactly how to pull them apart, some more explicit teaching to really be able to take words apart and put them back together and really understand how the sounds work. And there are some children who, it doesn't matter how hard you pull, they are not going to be able to get those apart without scissors or without being shown how to undo the knot and pull words apart into sound, because they don't have phonemic awareness. And if you test them on school entry, if they can't understand rhyme or generate rhyme, if they aren't aware of syllables, they don't know their letters, these are all danger signs. And those kids will need more serious intervention in order to be able to do this thing of pulling words apart into sounds, in order to map the letters onto them and understand how letters and sounds work together. If you imagine that this is the sentence, the spoken sentence, words run together, we think when we're adults that we say each word very crisply and clearly and separately from each other, but in fact when we're speaking we run words together, and we don't actually have the word words separate from the word run in the sentence words run together. But when we're writing, we do have to have them separated, and we go from left to right unless we're writing in a language like Arabic, and we go the other way. But in English, we write from left to right, so kids have got to learn that. And they've got to cope with the fact that when we're writing some words, for example, this one, words, there's a few ways to write We can have like in her, like in curl, like in bird, like in learn. But when we have war, my Velcro's not very good, we have this one. Usually that's or, but here it's when it's got or, work, worship, worth, worst, and so on. And then also when we have a plural, this is a z, a plural for the end of the word words, that shows that there's more than one word, and it's a z sound because this is voiced. This is d, and this therefore carries on with the voicing because sounds smush together. But we write plurals with s, we don't write them with z. And so you've got to learn that as a convention when you're a child. And then also with long words like together, we think, when we're adults and we're literate, we think that what we're writing is to, this is oo, and I'll give you the spelling choice with oo like in do, gev, get the from here. That's what we think we're saying when we're writing together. But in fact, this is together. And so, dealing with these unstressed vowels when you're going from speech to print is quite tricky, because you've kind of got to take that schwa vowel, that out and together, and put in the oo to be able to make sense of the spelling of it and say to, gev, when you're spelling, in your spelling voice. When you're spelling, you're doing syllable by syllable anyway. You're slowing it down and you're emphasising, so it's okay to say to, gev, even though in actual speech we use this instead. Let's think about how easy it is to hear sounds in words and the structure of words in English. So we have got some one sound words in English with just a vowel, like I and O, for example, if you're saying oh no. Usually when we start doing reading and spelling, we're working with short vowels, so a, e, I, vowels, and words like up and in and on. The first sound is the easiest to hear, so that could be a vowel sound, and that up would be the easiest to hear, and then the last sound would be a little bit harder. And also because p is a very soft and a soft sound, and it's also not a sound that you can prolong. It's a non-continuant sound or an obstruent sound. And so p is harder. Now, what about if we make the word, we'll go back to the word run that we had before. So run, all of these sounds are sounds that you can prolong, so they're continuant sounds. And so you can say run for a long time and really help kids hear the sounds. A lot of little kids can't say when they start school. That could be a bit of an issue, but assuming the first sound is the easiest to hear in a word, then you can say, okay, I'll give you one new sound. Here is s, and even if they don't know that letter, you can say, okay, here's run, and now we're going to make it into sun and get them to listen for where the change has been, and then they should be able to do that. And then we might make it into fun, and so again they've got to hear that distinction and put on the f. And then if you give them two, that makes the complexity of the task a little bit higher, because then they've got to hear, they've got to know that's b, here's fun, and now we're going to make it into bun, and so you've got to get this one, not that one, to be able to do that. Anyway, so first sound is easiest, and then the last sound is the next easiest. Now this one is a stop sound, so you can't continue it for a long time. You can't say b for a very long time, because the nature of it is you close your mouth and let it go. So that one makes it a little bit harder to hear, but it's in the beginning position, should be okay. Now we're going to go, that's bun, and now we're going to make it into bug. And so we've got to know the difference between g and t if you've got a choice of two, but if you've only got a choice of one, then they've only got to hear where the sound changes. Bug. Take off n, put on g, and then but, I'd like to come but I can't, and so forth. And then the middle sound is the hardest one to hear in 3 sound words. And so to be able to hear, here's but, and now we're going to make bat, and a often get very confused. And here's bat, and now we're going to make bet, and so forth. So those kind of substitutions with little kids, it's good to be aware of what's a continuant sound, what can be prolonged for a long time, and so it's easier to work with. And also the position of the sound in the word. It's easiest to hear the first sound, then the last sound, and then the sounds in the middle. Unfortunately for kids who have poor phonemic awareness, English doesn't just stick to 3 sound words. We can stick extra sounds, extra consonants around the vowel, so we can change bet into best, and you have to be able to hear that that moves over and that one comes in. So now we've got a 2 sound spelling here. Consonant blends at the end sometimes get neglected, but we can have 3 sounds or sometimes even 4 sounds here, like in texts, for example. We can also have 3 sounds at the beginning before a vowel in a word or a syllable in English. So best, and then we can make this one into bent, bend. So listening to the inside consonant is hard, and of course the larger the array that you have to choose from, the harder the task. So bent, and then we're going to make it into bend. So, and I've put them the same colour because they're the same spot, same action in your mouth, but is soft and is voiced. So hearing the difference between them can be quite hard, bend versus bent. And then if we wanted to make blend, we've got to know to be able to move this out and put the l in. That's quite hard again. So now we've got a 5 sound word, single syllable. And then bled, what's disappearing? Taking out a sound, it's quite hard. So bled, hearing that the n has gone away. And then let's make this into sled. Oh, well, that first sound's not too hard. Sled. Make it into slid. Slid. Take out that one. You've got to be able to listen through the word carefully. Make it into slit. So changing that back. Make it into split. Oh, where was that extra sound? Taking that over and putting that one in. Split. move that over. And then let's make this one split into splint. So that's hard, yeah? Pulling it apart, putting that extra sound in. And yeah, we have so many words like that where, and particularly with and all blend, so sprint. Having that it's very hard to hear on the inside, and also this is quite hard to hear, and it's a soft little sound sandwiched between two other consonants. So it's really important to pay attention to word structure and not just assume that because the letters have been learnt in a word that a child will be able to hear all of the sounds and hear them in the right order. Once kids have nailed down a, e, I, o, as vowels with one letter to one sound spellings, and they know the sorts of combinations that can occur before a vowel and after a vowel in consonants, then they've got to go and learn the rest of the vowels. So each of the rest of the vowels has got a few ways to spell it. So here I've got A, and as you can see it's got A like in play. There's also A like in rain, often that's with an N or an L after it. There's also A like in make and take, so that's one that wraps around the last consonant, so cake and tame and name. A like in they, a very common word, so probably even though that's not a very common spelling, of the sound A, it's an important one if you want to be making sentences, so that might be wanting to be introduced early. A like in the number 8 if you're doing any written numbers in maths. So then we've got I has got I like in night, I like in time, I like in my, I like in find, and I like in pie or lie. O like in boat, O like in toe, O like in slow, O like in home. So as you can see, each one has multiple spellings, and kids have got to be able to learn how to figure out which spellings go with what. So for example, if we have this I, I'll just get rid of those ones. If I want to make the word fight, let's do that. We might just get rid of the rest of those spellings. So that's fight. And now we can still do that same chaining thing. We can do, there's fight, please make flight. There's flight, could you please make fright? There's fright, could you please make right? And could you please make sight? And could you please make slight? And kids can notice after a while, oh, this is often with this. So getting to know which kind of things are next to each other a lot in spellings, because there's a lot of common patterns, and there's certain spellings that go at the end of a word like this. This one goes with a T. Usually, not all the time, but mostly. And so learning those kind of co-locations, what goes together in spelling and where do they go in what position in the syllable. You can start to make words longer. So for example, here we have the word dream, and then notice that quite often in spelling the letters stay the same, but you have to whip a sound out and put a different sound in. So for example, with the word dream, when we put this on for a past tense, it's a weird past tense, but anyway, when we change dream into dreamt, we have to take out the E sound, and we keep the same spelling, but we put in an E sound. So this spelling, EA, can go with E or it can go with E. So that's quite a nifty thing to be able to whip one sound out, put another one in, and create a new word. And you've still got the word dream inside the word dreamt. Here's another example. The word child has the sound I in it, and when we add the suffix, the plural, ancient plural suffix ren, or n it used to be, I think, child then becomes children, and this sound changes from I to I. So we've got to be able to bump out the I sound and bump in the it sound, so manipulating that sound in the word in order to get the correct longer version. Then with a longer word like authentic, we've got a lot of different ways to spell or with as in saw, or as in for's fallen off. But this or is very common in longer words, like in author. Yeah. So here we've got authentic. And so what we want to do now is add a suffix. So instead, like many words like electric, electricity, public, publicity, specific, specificity, what we want to do is add this ity suffix to the end. And what you have to do sound wise with that, this was a k when it was authentic, Now when we put this suffix on, we've got to whip the k out and put in a s, but we keep the spelling letter C. Very handy to have that letter C can be k or s. And now we have authenticity because C-I-C-Y-C-E is a s sound. And so we can keep the word authentic inside the word authenticity. So it's important with building longer words, very important to be able to whip sounds out and be able to drop down a vowel to make it an unstressed syllable or make it a stronger syllable. So that ability to manipulate sounds in words is very important with learning longer words.